So we have our product user control set up, and now we need to implement it within our product search form. First thing I'll do is delete the data grid view. So this is a definite breaking change. And then I'm going to double click on my search button, which is where most of my functionality for the search results piece lives. So we'll go through and we'll take a look, and we've got get our inventory utility using our dependency injector. We've got our search here, so that's returning our list of products. And then we're going through and we're iterating over those, and we're loading them into a product search view model. And that product search view model then is getting bound to our data grid. Now the product search view model was constructed because we were using the data grid view and we wanted to be able to control what columns were being generated for the data grid. So now that we're no longer using that, we technically don't need this view model anymore. That being said, we'll leave the class here, but we'll go ahead and remove this part of the implementation. I'll just comment it out. And I'll also comment out the data grid view because we're now going to use the user control. So what we need now is we need a container to be able to store all of our product user controls inside of. So I'm just going to save that, and let's jump back to our design view, and let's open up our toolbox and dock it. Now there aren't a lot of containers inside of the common controls because those are the common controls. But there is an actual space called containers within the toolbox, and you'll see that there's different options. So we have things such as a flow layout panel, a group box, a panel, split container, a tab control, and a table layout panel. Now each one of these has special functionality. The table layout allows you to actually create a table style layout in your application, which could work for us because if you look at how this renders out, it renders out as a table. And we could continue to generate rows, but those rows are not scrollable and they do not expand dynamically, they simply grow. So we want something that would allow us to kind of have some more free control, and it would grow and work with us as we continue to add elements. So the one I want to use is the flow layout. So we'll go ahead and start by dropping that on the form, and let's bring it down ever so slightly, give ourselves a little bit of space. And then I'm going to go ahead and size this out to the size of our area. I'm going to go ahead and also change the properties of this and set it to be anchored on all four sides. So that way as the form grows, the box will also grow as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and also give this a name. So we'll call it the FLP products for flow layout panel. And let's jump back to our code now. Now what we need to do is we need to populate the FLP with our user controls. So to do that, we're going to create a for each loop. So for each product DTO in our search results, so just as we had up above. But now we're going to change what happens with those products. We're going to do two steps. We're going to create a product user control, and that will be inside of a different namespace, so we'll have to include that namespace. And then we will need to, let's see, this will be our PUC for product user control, so we're going to need to create a new instance of that. And then we're going to use the constructor that takes in the product, so this is where we'll pass the product DTO. So PUC basically becomes that new user control for this particular DTO. Now we need to add that control to the flow layout. So FLP products is the flow layout. Dot, and there is no add. There's an event called control added, but there's no actual add option. What we're looking for is every control within the .NET framework, within the WinForms designer, has a child collection of controls. And this child collection takes additional controls or allows you to add them, just like any other collection. So our forms, when we drop controls onto that form, that drop of those controls actually does a similar call to our form and says form.controls.add, and then adds the text boxes and the lists and the labels and the buttons and all of those things. They get added to the form using this same concept. So we'll say add, and then we'll pass in the PUC, product user control. And that is actually all the steps that we'll need to populate that flow control. So let's go ahead and save, and we'll start, and let's see what happens. Oh, we have a build error, so let's say no to the build error. Let's see what's going on. So it says that DGV products does not exist in the current context, so let's double click on that error and see where it jumps us to. And we've got the old event handler for the data grid view, and it's still looking for the DGV products. So I'm just going to highlight this, and I'm going to hold down Control K and C. So hold down the Control key and hit KC, and it comments out whatever text you have selected. So I'll save that. We'll do a quick build. Build is good, and let's run it again. Yeah, I get this sometimes where it says the operation cannot be completed. The process cannot access files in use with another process. I'm not sure why it does that. I usually hit OK, and then I hit run, and it works. So our form is up, so let's go product search, and we'll type B for ball. Let's see what happens. Alright, so we've got a list of different products. I cannot scroll, so that's one thing we'll need to address. My images are a little too big. It looks like my basketball, baseball are cut off. My football, there's a white space, but I don't even know if there's anything in there, and I can't see anything below that. So there's some aesthetics that we'll need to adjust. Plus, like I said, I can't scroll, so we'll need to make sure that we can make this scrollable. So let's go ahead and close that. And let's go back and see what options we have that we can set. So let's start with the flow layout panel itself. So we want this to auto size, specify whether the control will automatically size itself to fit the contents. That sounds interesting. There might be some value there. Auto scroll, yes, we definitely want it to auto scroll. Let's see, flow control direction is left to right. What other options do we have? We have top down, right to left, and bottom up. I'm not sure at this point which one we need. It looked like everything was rendering in the right order, so we'll leave them the way they are. Auto size mode is grow only. It can grow and shrink. Let's go ahead and leave it where it is because we've got it docked pretty well to the form, and if the form grows, it'll grow with it. Let's see, what else could we adjust? That looks like it might be wrap contents. I don't think we want it to wrap the contents. We want to keep them on the left-hand side. We want it to be visible. And that looks good from the panel at this point. So we'll go ahead and keep those and save. And then let's jump back to our user control. Let's go to the designer. And let's look at the properties of the picture box. So the picture box has a whole set of its own properties, and the ones that we probably want to look at is things around size or position. So the size is the actual size of the box, which I think we want to keep, but then there's a size mode of normal. So let's see what other options we have. So we can stretch the image, we can auto size it, we can center the image, and we can zoom. So let's try auto size. That sounds like a good one. So we'll go ahead and save, and let's run it again. And product search, B for ball. Oh, that made the image bigger. That is not what we wanted it to do. It definitely gives it an interesting experience. It kind of scrolls to the side, and you can see the balls kind of peeking up behind our labels. But I wanted the images to be over to the left and be scaled to fit in the box, not to have the box grow bigger. At the same time, I can see what it means by left to right. We definitely want to go top down and keep everything moving to the side. So let's go ahead and close that and stop our debug again. So auto size is not what we want. Let's go ahead and try center image. I think we'll just skew it to the middle. Let's try zoom. I know there's a setting way back when with Windows desktop backgrounds, and there was a zoom option that I think kind of like did a good job of trying to place things in the center and spacing them correctly. So while we're in here, let's go ahead and adjust the properties of the panel again. So let's see, flow direction, we want it to be top down. So let's go ahead and start and see what happens now. So product search, B for ball. Much better. So there's our basketball, our baseball, football, beach ball, soccer ball, and golf ball. So there's all of our balls. with their title, their description, and the text around them. So that gives us the flow and look that we're wanting. Obviously, some of these have white backgrounds, and that's because of the image. That's something that we can modify the type of image we're using, make sure that they're transparent, and then we'd get the value add of them being transparent and not having a white box around them. But it is what it is. Inversely, we could go in and modify the background image or background color of the picture box and make sure that they're all white. So if we wanted to make them consistent and always white, we can do that as well. So that gives us a good starting point. Next step is we need to be able to click or double click on one of these items and actually launch up the product details.